That gets your attention?
Was a lot. Yeah, that was a lot.
Ron Slade joining us now. Ron, how are you, sir?
Hey.
I mean,
I'm good, man. How you
you
guys doing?
sound like Fat Albert, but you're slim, so you
Hey,
can't be saying hey like that.
hey, man. That's all. It's all in the mind, man. You can be whoever you want to be. I want to be Fat Albert this morning.
I gotcha. What? Who is the guy that had the eyes cut out in the toboggan, and it was
Oh, man, I forgot, but he had it was like a purple Scully that he
yeah,
had on. I forgot. It was
and
a
he had some
burglar.
sort of weird speech impediment where he was like
Yeah.
"Oochie beachy baba did," and it was
I don't know what's
anyway.
happening right now.
All
Hey,
right.
every community across America, man, you lock your doors when that guy walks by. But that was funny on Fat Albert. Just saying. We're just being real here.
Yeah. Well, speaking of lock your doors, the voice was Bill Cosby, but we don't even want to go there.
Wow.
I mean, you might want to watch your drink as well. But Ron, have you moved on? It was a tough one. It was painful, but have you moved on from the Georgia loss?
Yeah, I actually moved on after the game, man. I mean, it was because the fashion that it happened. I mean, this was the first time I think all year you could look at it and walk away from the game and say, man, we were physically handled. You know what I'm saying? From the trenches all the way to the boundaries. I think it was evident what Georgia was coming out to do. It was coming out to show their physicality. We expected them to do that. I just think the response to it was like, whoa. This was something you hadn't seen all year. I think the wide receivers being able to get off the line of scrimmage as they have been, even in stunts and stacking and all of that, it didn't bode well. And then the opportunities you did get, Hendon missed on it, and that had a lot to do with guys like Jalen Carter up front, man, coming downhill and Spraggins. Like Spraggins got to look in the mirror, man. I mean, you done had a great season, but Jalen got you. Hopefully you can get that matchup again, man, and take advantage of it. But this was a if you're looking at the barometer, man, you got to say Georgia's up here, and they showed the separation, and to where Tennessee is. Of course, I do think Georgia did play a perfect game in a sense. Also, so you got to take that into account. But man, it's different when you can line up and go man to man across the board and depend on that and say, hey, we're gonna live if they beat us, and if they don't, we're gonna come out on top. And they did that for 60 minutes. So you got to tip your cap, and you also got to tip your cap to um, the fans for coming out. Like
Yeah.
that was serious. Like we've seen Neyland get the rock, and we always hear about Florida. We expect what Death Valley is gonna be. That was all right there. That was a hell of a college atmosphere right there, man. You gotta tip your hat to the fans. They showed up, showed out in the rain, when it stopped. Like it was everything you want in college football.
Please mash that like button. We greatly appreciate that. For those that haven't subscribed, subscribe and share. And Ron, I look at Tennessee and I think they're very much like Georgia in the first 2, 3 years under Kirby Smart. And in a different way. Now, Tennessee is more explosive offensively, but Kirby Smart was really open and honest. If you remember his press conference when he got hired, he said, we got to get the big guys up front. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about those defensive tackles, the John Hendersons of the world, like
Mm-hmm.
he played with. Those guys are game changers almost as much as quarterbacks because there's not a lot of them. Year in and year out in a class, there's probably about 8 to 10 of those big
Yeah.
explosive defensive tackles that can change a program. Kirby's gone out and got them. Tennessee has to do that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you got to look at it like guys like you expect to. And the thing is, you got to get those life change. I mean, those program changing guys like you're speaking about, and they got to develop and buy into what you're doing. Also, I think that's the biggest thing with Georgia. They've been able to buy in the guys that they weren't able to go get. Because you look at a guy like Walter Nolan, who everybody was grabbing and grasping for, and he's at Texas A&M, and he's barely jumping off the page at times. Everybody else having more of an impact. So along with that, you got to be able to develop and get those guys to buy in. I think that's the biggest part of it. But Tennessee, that's it. And I'm on both sides of the ball. You want to be able to create depth there and hopefully have a team that's going against those guys really polish them up. Like, imagine if you could have a guy like Jalen Carter and them going against Tennessee's offense every day in practice in the offseason. They're going to be really, really serious. So, yeah, that's the thing, man. You want to be able to get those on both sides of the ball. I think that was the biggest thing when we started to get. You heard Pruitt talk about it when you brought him in. Like, man, we got to get some beef up front. It was different. So I think you started to see that, and it's trickled over into what Hype was doing, and even being able to run a fast offense. You want to run the ball. You got to have good guys up front, and you got to be able to stop it. You got to be able to stop it with 4 down linemen. So, yeah, you're spot on with that.
We think it's Mushmouth. We think it's Mushmouth from Fat Albert. We think
it is his name.
Yeah, we think it's Mushmouth.
And it's like, that's enough. We're like, how do we keep getting back?
No, I don't. I didn't watch Fat Albert, so I have no idea. I'm just
but you're too young for that too. It was a very good show. Sometimes I believe we need to celebrate obesity. Okay, so
we almost Thanksgiving, baby.
That's right. Can't wait. As always, Ron's appearance is brought to you by Zach England of Best and Brock. When it comes to personal injury attorneys, Zach's the best, especially in the Chattanooga area. The insurance companies, man, they're paying out big time bucks to big time lawyers. So you want somebody that can go toe to toe, and that's what Zach England can do. So Zach England of Best and Brock brings you Ron Slay's appearance each and every Wednesday. Amanda?
We saw the college football playoff rankings come out last night. We saw that Tennessee is still respected, highly respected, even after that loss by Georgia. What scenario scares you the most when going forward that maybe Tennessee doesn't make it? Which way do you think you could see Tennessee being pushed out?
A Georgia loss. A Georgia loss would derail a lot of things. I think everybody else kind of below them falls in place. Ohio State, Michigan, you expect one of those are going to win. You expect Texas to beat TCU, and even if they don't, TCU still got to go and play Utah. Utah's a tough team. Got Washington also. It's just a lot of different scenarios. I think Oregon winning out and winning the Pac-12 doesn't strike fear in my heart. I think with the resume that Tennessee has played with and won those games, I think it bodes well for them. But you're looking at a team like Georgia, say they go and lose the SEC championship and they drop, man, it's chaotic because you can't go ahead of them. Like, regardless of who it is, you can't go ahead of them. Even if they would have dropped to 2 or 3 and Ohio State moved up, it bumps us down, and you got to ask yourself, what's next? And if Michigan would have beat Ohio State, it's just weird if Georgia loses. We need Georgia to reign supreme throughout college football to make everything else fall in line. So that would be the only thing that would scare me a little bit if Georgia would have taken a L.
That's a really good point. Again, Ron's appearance brought to you by Zach England of Best and Brock. Zach's got your back. Ron, putting a loss like that behind you, especially when you're soaring sky high.
Yeah.
How difficult is that as a competitor?
I mean, it's always in the fashion that you lose. I think in this one, as a competitor and watching these guys, the tight-knit group they are, I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's more so of, man, let's hurry up and get back out there, especially the leader of the group, Hendon, which, man, he just missed on a couple of throws that he's normally made. You had Tillman, you had Fant, you had Brule, like you had those guys open and you just missed it like by a yard, you know what I mean? Which is, when you get in those big games, the margin of errors, it shrinks. So you got to be able to be on point with those, and you saw Stetson Bennett on there. So me personally, I would take this on my shoulders, not telling him to carry the whole burden, but I'm going to be like, hey, man, I'm going to be better. I apologize for that, y'all. Y'all held y'all on. You know what I mean? I could have made some better plays. And I individually, even though it's a team game in football, more so than any other, I make those throws. I give us a great opportunity to win. And I've been making them all year. So I'm gonna put it on my shoulders, man. I know everybody else is gonna rally around me, and we're gonna carry it. And let's get to the next game. And I'm show you in this Missouri game, we're gonna go out and get some style points. You know what I mean? And then South Carolina, it's supposed to be big and bad at night. Yeah, it's gonna be rocking. Watch what I go up here and do. Even if I got to use my legs, I know they don't really want me to run. Man, listen here, we balls to the wall. We're going all out. You know, it ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about this. So I think it's kind of easy because of the mistakes that were made were things that they could control. If it was just they just got pushed around all day and didn't have opportunities, then you're like, oh, shoot, I don't really know what we're going to do if we got to see them again. But it's almost like, man, we want to play well enough so we need them one more time. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like Alabama, like Georgia and Alabama was last year. We need them one more time. So I think it'll be easy to move on in this fashion.
Yeah, we've seen Missouri kind of test Georgia. We saw that. And we've seen a really bad Missouri. How do you think Tennessee will fare against Missouri, and what do they need to do to just make this game just beyond, like, I don't know, just beyond?
I think just jump on them. You got to jump on them. Like you still have you have Neyland, you have the effects of that, and I think you let the crowd push you over the edge. And Missouri hasn't seen anything like that all year. Like this, even though they played Georgia as tough as they could at Mizzou, that was at home in their confines. You know what I mean, and comfortable sleeping there on their own beds. This ain't that. You know, and then you're coming off a angry win, like not only for the players and them wanting to come out and prove a point, but man, the fans saw what happened, you know, and they saw how loud that crowd was. And then you got senior night. Like, you don't lose on senior night. You don't. I don't care what it is. We got to get up and play at 6 a.m. You're not losing. You just don't let that happen. So you go out, man, and you affect it just the same way you've been doing all season long. And you hit them in the mouth. You know, I think they'll be probably more so prepared for the run. Their defense up front has played really well. Got to tip your hat to them, but y'all ain't seen this. And if you think you gonna come to us and do what Georgia did, you sadly mistaken. You ain't got them dogs. You know what I mean? Even though they little legs are short, they had a little nice biting punch. Missouri ain't even got no tiger. They're the Missouri Tigers and only have a tiger. I didn't even know that. So
what do they have?
They're ligers. They're lying about being tigers. So they're a liger. That's what I done came up with. I'm just gonna stick with that because how do you not have a tiger? You're a tiger, but you ain't got one.
I'm a documentary guy, and I watched a documentary on ligers. Do you know what a liger actually is?
Yeah,
lion, tiger.
Yes.
It's when you mix a lion with a tiger. Well, when you mix the genetic code, they never stop growing.
What?
So eventually their body breaks down because they just keep growing past 800 pounds. It's a terrible thing to do to a pet's soul. It is awful.
Now, see, I'm a Napoleon Dynamite fan. You know what I mean? That's one of my favorite movies.
Right. So, I love that, and I love the reference, but let's not start a liger community because it's bad.
Well, guess what? That's part of it, though. That's exactly what you got going on with Missouri. Like, they're growing so big defensively, they can't hold them in, so they're just going to explode, and it's over with. You get them on out the way. They got to deal with us. You know, we're just going to eject them.
I absolutely love how you brought that back around. I would have never dreamed you could work in Napoleon Dynamite and bring Missouri back into it. That was like Norm Macdonald-esque right there. That was very impressive. If you have a question for Ron, get on board now. Dean says, in your heart of hearts, do you think Tennessee's ready for the national championship this year?
You know what? I think after seeing what did it, you're only good as your experiences when you're able to step into them. I think that national stage playing at Georgia was a great precursor of what is to come if you were to get on that stage. Now, imagine you're playing in Atlanta or you're playing in New Orleans and you got half and half. You know, that's a big difference than going to somebody's home field and it being that ruckus. Like, that was number one versus two. Like, it couldn't got no bigger. It couldn't have got any bigger. You know what I'm saying? With the hype around it from the media or whatever it may be outside of a 2-week or 3-week buildup for a national championship. That was as big as it can get. So I think that experience, they haven't seen that. But I do think now that when you get to those situations, you have something to reach back for, and you can say, hey, man, we've been in this spot before. It's different when you say, hey, man, we're in the locker room. Dog, we down 20, man. We got to fight back. Everybody looking at you like, dude, are you crazy? How we going to fight back on this stage? We ain't never been here. But now you can reach back and be like, hey, man, we were down. We came out and we played different in the second half. We just needed certain things to go right. Now you can look at it. So I think experience is the best teacher. Now they do have that experience. I do think they're ready for a national championship. And also, I don't think everybody in the country is like Georgia. Like, you're just not going to see that. The next one up was Alabama. And you see where they are. You got the best two players on both sides of the field, and Alabama still couldn't get it done. You got Bryce Young, the best offensive player in the nation. Will Anderson, the best defensive player in the nation. Alabama's never not came together as a team and steamrolled people. They've never had to rely on talent to try to go and get their victories. Now they're relying on talent on both sides of the ball to try to carry them over the hump. Georgia got that talent, what Alabama usually has, and rolls. You know what I mean? And then the way Stetson Bennett playing, like, you're not seeing that anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. You're not seeing that no more. So once you get back to it, you make the adjustments that's needed, and hopefully you come out on top.
So it's crazy that we talked about Napoleon Dynamite, because I watched a show last night and I noticed the bad guy. And I was like, he looks really familiar. And I was like, that's Pedro. I can't even watch this show anymore because Pedro's the villain in the show. I was like, we're done. This Pedro, I'm not even scared. Like, I'm done.
The vote for Pedro. I had to vote yesterday too. That's funny you was watching it.
Hey, Amanda, I know you got a question, but I'll tell you this. Now that you work in the business, the show you need, and I thought of Ron last night because I was thinking of what to talk to him about today. You need to start watching news radio. It is one of the most underrated sitcoms of all time. So, and now that you're in the radio biz, news radio.
Is it new?
No. It's old. It's before cell phones. So they're actually picking up the phone and stuff. But it's got Phil Hartman in it. It's got the guy from The Kids in the Hall in it. It is Joe Rogan is in it, and he's about 24 years old.
Wow.
It is, and Amanda, you need to watch it too. Now that you're kind of in the biz, but the vibe around it, they just mimicked it perfectly. One of the most underrated sitcoms of all time. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna watch that in off season. The only problem is right now Yellowstone about to start up. So,
you're a Yellowstone guy?
What? One of the best. Oh my gosh! The Dutton Ranch. Put me on the Dutton Ranch.
I had a boss that was really into Yellowstone, and I got her one of those like pullover things, and she called me and she said, I got the present. Thank you very much. That was nice. And I said, do you like it? She said, you didn't have to do that. Which that means she didn't like it.
See, I would tell you, yes, you did have to do it. I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Go ahead, Amanda. I'm sorry.
We saw, right before this Tennessee-Georgia game, we saw the college football playoff come out and say Tennessee's number 1, Georgia's number 3. How do you think that, plus other things like Stanford's not that loud and, all of that, all the challenges that people are throwing at Georgia, how do you think that affected this game and Georgia's style of play?
I think, to me, man, you never need motivation, but it's welcomed. I don't think there was anything needed to try to push them over the hump, but for sure, you heard Kirby, them talking about Stedman and looking at it, and they got to look us in the eye, they got to face us for 60 minutes, this, that, and other. So this is our house. So I mean, it played into it. I mean, and once you sleeping dog, you got to let them lie. I wish they would have went on to put them at number 1, so we could have had something to battle for. But I mean, it is what it is. You don't duck it. I think it's it's for ratings too, as well. Knowing that it'll shake out the way it is. Same reason they're gonna put TCU at number 4. Because they're going into Texas, like, to get it back hyped up. If the season was to end today, I still think Tennessee would be 4. And TCU would be on the outside looking in with a gripe at 5. So. But the way it's still got weeks to play, you put them at 4. They go down to Texas. It's hyped up. Game days there. It's like, what we gonna do? So I think, man, Georgia really used that. And when you got guys that are real dogs, that's all you need. You're looking for anything. Like I used to sit on the baseline and make up things during warm-ups about people on the other end of the floor that they were talking about my parents or they talking about my brothers and sisters. Like I was just making this up in my head. Like I did this all throughout my pro career and everything. So when people were warming up, I would be walking along back and forth along the baseline, just looking down like, who am I picking out? Like who been talking about me? And that's what you need. You need a little extra motivation.
I do that weird stuff too. And then I do like Michael Jordan. I took that personally.
Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Yes, he
That's
does.
it. Yeah.
He takes everything.
One guy told him good game. And he said, I took that personally.
Yeah, it is what it is. You got to deal with it.
He said good game. Okay, the Stetson Bennett phone number got out. Did you ever have anything like that happen to you or one of your teammates where, because I do remember, I can't remember the player, but I know one player was called up until like 4 a.m. at the team hotel.
Yeah.
Did you ever have anything like that happen?
No, at that time, man, we didn't have NILs and stuff like that, so we were broke. So my phone was getting cut off all the time, and I was getting numbers changed. So if you were able to keep up with my number, you had some good going. I do remember one of our players, it might have been Tony Harris. Somebody's number got out in Gibbs one time, and players were calling. We ended up leaving it off the hook. I mean, not players, fans were calling, and we left it off the hook. But no, I never had to deal with it, man. I'm happy I didn't. Maybe if I would have had some money, my phone would have stayed on. It would have kept my number, and then they would have called me. But I would have relished it like that. There's some people you don't want to do that to, and apparently Stetson is one. You don't want to do that. You would have did that to me. I promise I would have gave you 50, and everybody would have heard about it.
Yeah. Tell me about Cameron Carr, Tennessee's newest commitment for Rick Barnes, and just how recruiting is going in general. I mean, if I'm recruiting against Rick Barnes, I say, oh, he's 89 years old and all this stuff. But it doesn't – I mean, he's recruiting like a banshee, like he's 32-year-old Rick Pitino. It's just incredible.
Man, you got to look at it, man. First of all, Cameron Carr, man, look like a young athletic wing. It's funny to watch these guys, man, as long as they are. If you look how long his arms are, you're like, God. Like, what position do he play? You automatically think down low or somewhere around the rim, but a guy that can really handle the ball, man, create his own shot on the wing. Potential is there. The sky's the limit for him. Like if you look at his limbs, like he's not done growing. Like his frame has to even out with the length of his arms and his legs at some point. So this is a guy that looks like he can grow about 2 more inches. Probably come in and be a good 3-year guy for him. Some piece that you can build on. You start to see these guys that he's going to get, like Keon, more athletic wings that can get out there and defend. You see it in Meshack. You see it in Phillips. You see it in guys like that. I can't wait to see what Garrett does with him, the strength coach, man. Like what he's going to do to transform his body is going to be very impressive in the summer, getting ready to go into the season next year. But as far as recruiting goes, man, they're doing a great job. I think he does a great job of the guys he puts around him. Coach Gainey does a terrific job, and all the way back to Lanier Schwartz, now all the way up to Coach Rod Clark, Justin Gainey, all these guys around him, man, got grassroots connections and stuff. You see, he was a product of Mocan Elite. And if people did a little research, like Coach Rod Clark came from Mocan Elite after his stop at Austin Peay and then getting to Tennessee. So that's what you got to do, man. If you don't have a connection to the youth, you got to go out and find somebody that does, and I think he's done a great job of filling the staff with people to do that. And also social media is a great platform, a great connector for them. And these guys get out there and go on visits. And even if they don't commit, they're out there showing, the pyros and everything that's going off and the atmosphere that it is in Thompson Bowling, and it recruits itself. So you at least want to come take a look. And once they get you in the building, there's a good chance they got you, because it's not another atmosphere like a TBA.
Yeah, all they need now is Nico to start recruiting for basketball. And then they're gold.
Hey, that's all they need, man. One person like that ain't bashful, man, and he'll get it. See, they just got the big offensive lineman, man. So I'm interested to see more more of that. You can get more linemen coming. Like it's man, you'll be surprised. As rare as it is, guys playing um basketball, two sports still in high school. Like, with training and stuff going year round. Like you got Big Omari coming from Briarcrest. I'm sure somewhere down the line that helped with Kennedy Chandler. Them being teammates and winning state championships in basketball. Like all of it correlates at some point somewhere down the line. It just makes it easier. Like when I got there, I automatically was attracted to John Henderson and Buck Fitzgerald, Reggie Ridley, all these guys because they went to Pearl Cone. Even the guys being at Carson Newman that were from Pearl Cone. So you look for comfort, and if you can see a familiar face, that'll help a lot.
Buck Fitzgerald, the player who ended Steve Spurrier's career at the Swamp by breaking up that pass in 2001.
Yes, he did. My guy, baby. Yeah. I think he was going to Mark Gaffney that play too.
Yeah, a little bit of trivia for our listeners. I love Tennessee basketball fans. They get so involved. They know hoops, and I think when you have Butlers and Gonzagas early in the season, it gets them excited. How does it affect players to have some of those big name schools early on, as opposed to nothing against Austin Peay, but the Austin Peay world?
No, it's good. Like I think you also work those smaller schools in too as well, because you want to be able to get out there and game like situations and work on things. But then at the same time, reverse side, you want to be able to go play rich tradition schools like Butler and basketball and Gonzaga, and Michigan State, and people like that. Like that's what you want to do, because these are the guys you done came up with. Playing high level AAU with, and you go in and out, and you want to finally count for something, on this stage, and you want to see where you measure up to. It's different when you're going against playing against one of your peers that's in your age group, but it's also different when you play against Michigan State. They got a fifth-year guy that's 22 years old that's in the paint, and when you go in there, you're at 18, and you take that bump a little different than they're going against an 18-year-old that you bodying and dunking on. Like, you got to get your butt up off the court after then and knock you down, and respect it. And it ain't nothing you can do except get better. So you want to have that, man, to be able to test and see exactly where you are, especially guys that are physical, and it's different brands. This is like they almost should have a preseason tournament, NCAA tournament. I think that would be cool too. Just going into the season, make 6 to 8 teams and just go for a free fall, man, and get ready. And then you can get into your non-conference schedule and see how that goes. But before you get into the season, but I think that'll be a real good test. Hopefully at some point, they can get these teams matched up and get to kind of see where you are.
What's the ceiling, do you think, for this Tennessee team, and who is the most important player getting them there?
Oh man, that's loaded. You would hate to have Zakai go out, without question, because it changes the pace of the game, man. And I mean on both ends of the floor, offensively and defensively. He's one. I think we're starting to see what Tariq Key really means. Tariq Key means to the team in those times when you can't score and Santi is getting denied and can't knock the shot down. You got Tariq Key right there. Josiah, he's always been one for me. He's always been a Swiss Army knife that you can play at the 4, you can play at the 3, you can play at the 2, especially defensively, that can keep the team going and keep them jailed in. When things go haywire, you get a free throw. He's the guy that I expect to see gather up the team. Hey, man, let's get this in order. Boom, bam, build, hold everybody accountable, and you move on. The one thing I got to see, and maybe it was game 1, but I want to see a little bit more. They had the outside shot going against Tennessee Tech. Olivier, I got to see that fire burning in his belly, man. Like, to come off of injury and kind of be forgotten about a little bit in all the preseason picks and things. Like, I don't even see nobody mentioning them. Like, to me, that's what drove me my senior year. I was like, damn, y'all forgot about everything I did. Like, y'all left me off all preseason SEC lists, and like, man, I was 13 coming off my sophomore year. I just got hurt my junior year. Like, y'all forgot I was averaging about 19, with 2 other NBA picks on our team. So that right there will fuel me, and I hope it does for Olivia. I want to see him exert himself a little bit more, and hopefully, it will show, and especially in SEC play when you're playing against bigger guys. I think it's kind of hard preseason, pre-conference when you playing against guard-oriented teams, but um, that's my thing.
If you're in Nashville or everybody streams now, you've got to listen to Ron Slay at 104.5 The Zone. He's with Britt Doherty and Don Davenport in the afternoon and does a fantastic job. Ron, we certainly appreciate you as always. Have a blessed day and thank you for your time, sir.
Appreciate it, y'all. Go Vols, baby.
Thanks, buddy. It's Ron Slay. Ron
Yeah.
Slay, nice enough to join us. Brought to you by Zach England of Best and Brock, a personal injury attorney that can match those big time insurance companies that have big time attorneys. So, again, Ron Slay's appearance brought to you by Zach England of Best and Brock. If you're in need of any sort of personal injury attorney in the Chattanooga area, they will take care of you.